All right, welcome to the Tim Burks podcast, episode 4. I'm here with my friend Ryan Seiffert, who I call Stan. Welcome, Stan.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for being here. So just to get started, can you tell the listeners about your background a little bit and some of your achievements and like the things you've done in life?
So I guess starting off, I did cross country and track in high school. I enjoyed that. Went to state for a couple events there. After that, I went into the Marine Corps. Was in the Marine Corps for 4 years, did a tour in Afghanistan. Then after that, became a firefighter paramedic. Currently working for the village of Gurnee. And then just some other athletic achievements. See, I do OCR races now, so obstacle course races. That's kind of my new thing I like doing. And then I work out at a Ninja Warrior gym.
Mm-hmm.
Been doing that. Was able to be on American Ninja Warrior last year, season 15. And then also last year I was able to get a Guinness World Record in the Burpee Mile. Just to name a few things.
Yeah, just a couple. While you're at it, what are your PRs like for running?
Okay, for 3 miles it's 16:19. For my half mile, the 800, it's I believe it's like 157 something. Trying to remember can't quite a long time ago. Can't quite remember. That was the main. I mainly did the 800. I can't really remember what my mile was. Probably it was like 4:41. I want to say.
Sounds right.
And yeah, so that's kind of the main ones. I mean, that's all from high school, and so now I do obstacle course races, and it's you can't really judge times there just because every race is different with different obstacles, different terrains. With that,
Right. Can you talk about the Burpee Mile? How long did that take you?
so the Burpee Mile, the record I have is an hour and 32 minutes of.
And that's the world record.
Yes. So that is a burpee followed by a broad jump. So it's you go down, do the burpee, stand up, and you do a broad jump. So just burpee, broad jump, broad jump, just over and over for the course of a mile. So the first time I did it, it took me, I believe it was about 2 hours and 20 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time I did it, I had the goal of trying to break 2 hours. So I did about, I think it was an hour and 53 minutes. And then I decided to go for the Guinness World Record this year, or I guess last year, and did an hour and 32 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So thinking about doing burpees for like an hour and a half or 2.5 hours, even that first time, sounds probably like hell to most people, including me. What like motivates you to keep training and to like do these hard things?
Yeah, so burpees never get easy. They still suck. I hate burpees. They always suck. Never gets better. But the motivation came from, there's this guy named Jimmy Choi. So if you haven't heard of him, like look him up. He's a huge inspiration. But basically, in his early adult life, he was just an average Joe, not athletic or anything, but developed Parkinson's. And one of the known things to kind of like slow down the progression of Parkinson's disease is exercise. So then he just devoted himself to fitness, and he just exercises all the time. And one of the things he did all the time was burpees. Because with Parkinson's, you lose your balance a lot and you fall. So he wanted a way to like know how to catch himself and get himself back up. So burpee was the perfect exercise for that. Just down and up, down and up. So he always does that. That was like kind of his signature exercise he did. And so now he's in his 40s and he's in the best shape of his life with Parkinson's, and he's competed on American Ninja Warrior. He's always going for Guinness World Records. He has multiple Guinness World Records in different push-up and burpee related records. And then one of the fun challenges he did that I saw is he did a Burpee Mile. And so when I saw that, I was like, wow, here's this guy in his 40s with Parkinson's just did a Burpee Mile. Like, so if he can do it, what's my excuse? Like, And that was my mindset. And that's kind of where the motivation came. It was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm. And what, like, so that motivated you to do the Burpee Mile, but, like, when you experience resistance, like, when you have to wake up and train in the morning, or, like, when you don't really want to work out, do you experience that? I guess would be the first question.
Yeah. One of the hardest things is that as soon as the alarm clock goes off and it's like, okay, do I want to get up and go run? But I just think about, like, when I don't do it, and then I feel horrible throughout the day, or especially, like, if I don't do it after a few days and work out, and then also I can just feel my body's like, yeah, I don't quite feel right. It's those moments feel worse than the initial pain of, like, okay, I just got to get up and go run, because I know the benefits. Like, okay, if I just get out in the morning, I just go for an easy 3 miles, like, that's just a huge benefit to start the morning. And then once it becomes habit, well, then it's just second nature, and you don't really think about it as much. And just the more you make something a routine, the easier it gets, in because the more it just becomes like your part of life.
Yeah, I definitely find that too. Like, the more I'm in the routine, the easier it is to overcome that initial resistance of, like, getting out of bed and starting to train. Do you ever have seasons where it's, like, harder to overcome that resistance, or where you feel like there's more resistance, or do you think you've just been kind of on the grind for so long now?
I mean, in terms of working out, it's very easy. Like, I always want to work out. I'm definitely just in that mind, like, I need to get some exercise, let off some energy, and that, like, I'm definitely past that hill where I always gotta run or work out. Running, on the other hand, especially running outside, is hard in the winter. Like, it's like when it was, it was -10, -20, I wasn't running outside. I was like, okay, it's a little too cold. There's nothing more I was training for. In high school, I was definitely going outside. Like, because I had, like, cross country and track goals. Like, I had, wanted to make state, and, like, I actually had, like, definitive goals with running. Now it's like, well, I'm just running for my overall fitness and, training for, OCRs, but, that's kind of in the summer, and, like, I can do plenty of stuff, indoors and working out. So running, right now, is definitely the hardest thing to do in the winter.
I definitely understand that. As we sit next to my treadmill.
Yes.
I got it for the same reason. So talk a little bit more about, like, what does training look like for you right now, and then kind of, like, in different seasons, preparing for different events and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm just about to start, like, my OCR training. So this winter, I haven't really had much direction. Like, I've definitely kind of slacked a little bit with my working out, just because it's like I didn't have a set a goal. Like, I did my Burpee Mile late fall, and then it was the winter time. I didn't really have much to train for, but now I'm starting my OCR training. So what I like about obstacle course racing is it's truly a hybrid athlete event. You got to be both physically strong and have running endurance. So it's, they counteract each other. Like, you see, marathon runners are just skinny twigs because all they do is run. But through obstacles, and, now you have to build strength. And so you have to find that right balance of how much, muscle do I build versus how much running and endurance to get. So my training, I try to run most days, just, even if it's like an easy 3 miles, and then I'll have, like, one, like, either long day, like, long run, like, during the summer, I'll kind of start going up to, 10, 13 miles, I'll go for long run, sometimes do interval running, but then also, I'll mix in through the days, in the week, just different strength-based training, a lot of circuit training. Like, I work out at a Ninja Warrior gym, which Ninja Warrior and OCR, there's a lot of crossover. Ninja is definitely a lot more quick-paced. Like, it's all about, like, when you do a course run on Ninja Warrior competitions, it's usually, like, it's just 2 minutes, obstacle, and then you're done. So it's definitely, it's more quickness and precision, whereas OCR, you're running for a quarter mile, you're tired, now you gotta do one obstacle, then you're running again, and then you gotta do another obstacle. So there's a lot of overlay, but still some differences. but I try to mock an OCR as best as possible. So, like when I work out at the Ninja Warrior gym, I'll go run a lap around the block, which is about a quarter mile, and I go inside and I'll do an obstacle. I'll go out, run a lap around the block, and then do an obstacle. I'll do that for 6 miles or so.
Okay.
And that's probably like the best training I can do for OCR. And so this year I've got a lot of races planned. I think probably like 6 or 7 of them.
Okay.
I hope to go to California. There's kind of the OCR world competition there, where like people like travel all around the world to compete, and they got like different distances for OCR. So I really want to go out there and kind of like race there and kind of just see the different competitions around the world.
That sounds super cool. I definitely want to hear more about that, but I'm still trying to understand the training a little bit more. So like you said, you do one long run usually a week. Is that also with the strength part looped in, or is that like you run separate from the strength, or like how many days a week do you run versus doing strength training?
Yeah, so with my work schedule, because I'm a firefighter, so I work for 24 hours on, I'm off for 48. So I kind of have to adjust based on my work schedule. So typically on days that I'm working, I'll run in the morning, and then I'll try to do some like just strength based, lifting weights during work. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't, just with calls.
Right.
And then with the next 2 days that I'm off, I'll usually I'll try to go for an easy run, sometimes 5-6 miles there, and on the weekends I try to do one long run. Usually like I build my endurance up to about 13 miles. I've done that the last couple summers. And then during my days off of work, it always kind of different. Some days like I'll try like maybe 2 to 3 times a week go to the Ninja Warrior gym, and I'll just work out there and just kind of do obstacle based trainings. But then at least once or twice also the week I'll try to do some kind of like circuit based training, something that kind of mimics OCR a little more specifically. And where I'll do like for 6 miles I'll do the lap, do an exercise, do a lap, do an exercise. So I'll kind of have one hard kind of hybrid workout, one long run, sprinkle 4 or 5 easy runs throughout the days, as well as sprinkle some like strength based training.
Okay, that makes sense. I feel like I have a good understanding of your weekly rhythm. When you do weights at work, when you have time, what does that look like? Do you do like traditional like compound bench and rows and stuff like that, or like what does that look like?
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel when lifting. Like it's like if you really just look at how do you build strength, like bench press, even with dumbbells, pull-ups, pull downs on the cable machines, like squats, like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's all very simple. Like people have been for hundreds of years been doing the same exercises, and it works. Like I feel like if you get you start reading like Men's Health, and you see all these like these superhero Marvel workout trainings, and it's all like these crazy things, and it's like it really doesn't work. Like it's just because the truth is, like, if you want to build strength, it's very simple. You do squats, you can do leg extensions, leg curls, you can do your cable rows, pull-ups, push-ups, bench press. Like I keep it very simple because it just works, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
So I think I know what your answer is going to be based on what you just said, but do you have a strong opinion? Like there's the higher weight, lower rep crowd, there's a lower weight, higher rep crowd, and then kind of people in between. Do you have like an opinion on that?
I mean, I guess it all depends on what you're building towards, because also like if you look, there's you have different kind of like muscle fibers in your body, and obviously like the best thing I can put it to is like with running, like there's some people that are really good at sprinting, and then there's some people good at marathon running, and it's because some people are really good at like pushing their legs like really hard for a short amount of time, and then there's people that can, you know, take it a little easy, like with a marathon, but for a long period of time. And it's just kind of, it's what their slow twitch, how much slow twitch or fast twitch muscle fibers they have. I mean, in terms of like with lifting weights, I mean, I'm typically in the 8 to 12 rep range. I mean, but, you know, some days, you know, if I want to like really build strength, you know, I might just try like go a little bit heavier, and just, you know, do the 3 to 5. A lot of times I don't do that just because I don't want to hurt myself as well. Because that's also, it's like, you can tell like you're kind of pushing yourself to the max, and it's like, there's nothing I'm truly like trying to train for that's that important, where I rather kind of, you know, take it a little bit easier. You know, I can do 8 to 12 and, you know, feel good and not feel like I'm gonna like pull a muscle if I go like super heavy for 3 reps.
Yeah, that's kind of where I've landed too. Like I feel like probably 2 or 3 times a year for the last like 2 or 3 years, I would see that one video where it would be like, go heavy, you know, like whatever it would be would motivate me to start going heavier and be more in that like 5 rep range. Every time I got hurt.
Yeah.
But if I camp out and like, I like to have 8 as my minimum and then go up to like 15, even 20 before I jump up to the next weight.
Yeah.
Just because I'd rather have that consistency and like keep going than do this on and off getting hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing I've been doing recently in the last couple months with my training, like when I do like the, you know, if I do like 8 reps for something, and when I reach the max, I'll then, like when I can't do any more, I'll then just start doing negative. So like if you're doing like bench press with dumbbells, like if after, you know, you do 10, you can't do any more, well then maybe go a lower weight and then just do negatives down. Like maybe you can't pump it up as many times, but you can get plenty of negatives. Like just try to hold it down for like 5 seconds as the dumbbell's coming down, and you can get like another 10 more and like really feel it in your chest. Like I've been doing that more often with, after doing a burnout set, like just do negative burnouts.
How long have you been doing that for?
A couple months now.
Have you noticed a difference in like strength or power or
I definitely been
size?
feeling more sore the next day when I wake up. So I think it's working.
That's a good sign. Yeah. Something you said made me think of this too. Do you do any kind of like prehab prevention type stuff? Like I know the knees over toes stuff is really popular, and I have had good experiences with doing stuff like that. Do you do any of that?
So right now, flexibility is probably one of my weakness. I've been trying to get more flexible, especially in my hips and hamstrings. So that's probably like over the last 3 months or so, I've been definitely like during my rest sets, I'll just like, even if it's just for like 10 or 15 seconds, like bend down, try to touch my toes, or just try to like work on my hip flexions. And that seems to like help. Like, because one of the issues I've always had with like stretching and trying to like become more flexible is, you know, if I devote a day to do that, well then I feel like I'm not devoting a day to like actually run or get stronger. But I found if I'm resting, you know, I'm resting for like a minute or so, if I just take like 20 seconds to like work on my hip flexions, and I do that the course throughout the workout, I find like my hips feel better, my hamstrings feel better. I'm more flexible by the end of the workout, and that definitely helps, like just, you know, with overall rehab.
Yeah, I found the same thing doing like the knees over toes stuff, which I have to show you a hip flexor move when we're done. It feels like a waste to devote like a whole workout to it and not do strength or cardio or anything on that day. But what I do is like on the days that I squat, for example, I do, you know, like 4 or 5 sets of squats, and then in between I'll just do like some of the knees over toes, like the reverse stair step ups or the hip flexor raises and stuff like that. And it just, my knees feel better and I feel like more stable, but I also am still getting in the strength, which is nice. So you said you have some races coming up. Sounds like those are the things you're training for right now. What races do you have coming up? What's on the schedule?
All right, so in May I got Frontline OCR. That is like there's a lot of them are all in the Chicagoland area, obstacle course races. Frontline is interest because for the pro heat, you have to wear a 20-pound vest while doing obstacles. So, it's definitely probably the hardest obstacle event around, just because you got the added weights. And then I do Savage. I don't do Spartan anymore. Spartan kind of left the Chicagoland area, unfortunately. I know when people think, oh, you do OCR, you only do Spartans. I used to, but they left the Chicagoland area for whatever reason. They're only on the East and West Coast now for some reason.
Interesting.
But there's Highlander Assault. They have a couple events going on.
Mm-hmm.
War X is a new one I'm doing. That one looks like a lot of fun. That is in Indiana, I believe. Or no, Ohio.
Okay. When is that one?
Sometime in the summer.
Okay.
But they also, it looks like they have, that one seems like a more like, they have like also like shooting events as well. Like there's like OCR events there as well. And they also kind of have like tactical shooting events as well going on there. And they have like, it seems like it's kind of like a military based themed OCR. So I'm excited to do that. It seems like a lot of fun.
Okay. So what does that look like? Or like, do you know yet?
I'm not sure. Like I've only kind of seen a couple of videos of it, and I know some people have done it that have a good time. But it looks like, they have like the normal OCR stuff that you would expect. But then they also have other courses during the weekend where people will kind of run to different stations and do different, like looks like they'll shoot different targets and just like tactical strategies, events like that.
That sounds super cool.
Yeah.
And that one's in the summer, you said?
Yeah.
And then you said there was a big race in California.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that a little bit more? What is that?
Yeah, so you have to qualify for it. So the different OCR races, if you place high enough in like the pro heat, you can qualify for OCR Worlds. Mm-hmm. So with a lot of these races that I'm doing, they are like under the OCR Worlds umbrella. So if you kind of like the Boston Marathon, you have to, race well in a certain marathon in order to qualify for Boston. And this is kind of the same way for OCR Worlds, where you have to like place like top 3 in a pro heat of one of their designated races, which Frontline, Highlander, Savage, they all are. If I place top 3 in one of those races, I'll be able to qualify for the OCR World. So that's my goal. I should, fingers crossed if I can stay healthy. But yeah, I really want to go out there. It should be like a fun adventure.
And you might have said this already, but when is that one?
That is in the fall, I believe. I'm not sure if they have a set date yet, but it's always like one of the last OCR races, just because you have to qualify for it. So during the whole summer, when everyone's running their races, then they qualify for the OCR Worlds.
Right. And is that usually like broadcast? Like, could people tune in and watch that if they wanted to? Mm-hmm. Okay. At the end, I'll have you say like your Instagram and stuff, so people can follow you on that if they want. So races are the main thing you're training for. Do you have any other training goals right now, or that's kind of the main thing?
Yeah, that's the main thing. With spring just around the corner, just gonna really start bumping up my mileage running. Do a lot of running, continue with my strength-based training, and like I said, my main goal is to do like qualify for the OCR Worlds and do well in that. I'm trying to figure out what distance, because they have a lot of distances. They have like a 100-meter sprint, they have like a 3K, a 5K, I think like a 12K, and like a 20K. Like they have a lot of different like distances, so I'll have to try to see what event I would do best in.
Cool. If somebody was listening to this, or just in general wanted to get into doing obstacle course races, what would you say are like the first steps? How can someone start training for it? Or
so with OCR, like the great thing is anyone can do it. You're there to have fun. Like people, there's no issue if you can't do an obstacle. Like it's a really relaxed, fun environment if you do like the open heat and you're just, you can invite your buddies there and you just go and you just have fun. Probably the biggest training is running. I've seen people that run a lot. They're like big runners, but they do zero strength training.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen people that are gym rats and all they do is stay in the gym and lift weights and they never touch anything cardio related.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that are the big runners do a little bit better than the big gym rats.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the biggest thing is first just run, get your cardio up. Like I said, if you can't do an obstacle, you can't do an obstacle. Like that's totally fine. And then the next thing is just working on your grips, because there's a lot of dead hanging. There's a lot of just moving from one grip to another.
Mm-hmm.
So just learning how to do like dead hang, and do pull-ups, because it's going to be a lot of forearm, a lot of back exercises.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the biggest thing, and the biggest thing is also just going out and try it. Just
Mm-hmm.
Once you get a feel for it, you'll hopefully fall in love with it.
Yeah. I will say, this already, but for the listeners, I did one with Stan last year, and it was so fun. I really loved it, even though I'm not at your level and like as fit or anything like that. They are really a good time. And I was definitely more the gym rat one who didn't have the cardio as much, and our other buddy Kevin did it, and he had the cardio, but
I want to say Kevin got maybe fifth in the open heats.
Yeah,
I want to say he did pretty well.
He did pretty well. I think I had a better completion rate for the obstacles,
yeah.
But we can talk about that another time when we have Kevin on and talk some smack. Okay, so that's good advice. One thing I feel like is critical anytime you're talking about like training or performance or fitness is nutrition. Can you talk about a little bit like what is your perspective on nutrition? What does your diet look like? Do you do any supplements or?
Yeah, diet, I keep it pretty simple. I've done strict diets where I've counted my macros and all my calories and all that, and I mean it's a lot of work. I mean there's benefits to it, but it's also a lot of work. And I'll do it from time to time because it's kind of good to kind of learn of what is truly in my food.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, 99% of the time, I just try to just eat healthy. I eat a lot of lean meats, a lot of chickens, turkeys, salmon, fruits and vegetables. I don't really do anything too drastic.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of supplements, I was watching this really good YouTube video. I forgot the guy's name, but he basically was looking at what are the best supplements to take, and he looked at took the 10 biggest fitness influencers on YouTube and just looked at what did they recommend of supplements, and what are some things that they all recommend, what some of them kind of did, and what supplements do they all said they avoid.
Mm-hmm.
And basically on the top of the list was protein. It's clear, especially whey protein. It's super cheap. It's super beneficial. It adds to your strength and your muscle recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So that one thing across the board, everyone recommended was protein. The second thing was creatine. It's super documented, lots of research. There's so much benefit with taking creatine every day, and so that's also across the board. You should just take creatine. It adds, there's nothing in the market that will add to your strength as much as creatine, especially with the price point that it's at. And then that was the thing that everyone across the board then. And then the next thing was that most of them recommended, it was vitamin D. That was they were looking at supplements and multivitamins. You can take it, but a lot of them, the people were hesitant because for the most part you're going to get all your vitamins just through eating throughout the day. But vitamin D was something that across the board most people don't get enough. We're always indoors enough. We don't we're not all outside and under the sun, and like, so that was one thing that you should make sure you try to get your vitamin D intake. And then the other thing was fish oils as well. That was like almost everyone agreed, like for joint health and everything, like fish oils are like super beneficial for you. And those were the main four, and that's the stuff that I take. And then, because then all the other supplements that the guy was talking about, that's like when most of the fitness influencers and experts were starting to like disagree, and some were saying wasn't as beneficial, and like, you know, taking controversial. Yeah, you know, amino acids, BCAAs, like was something that like 10 years ago everyone was like saying, oh, you should add that to your diet. Now research kind of shows there's not much beneficial. You actually get a lot of it already. No need to buy BCAAs unless, you know, you're deficient in it and your doctor recommends it. Okay. So those are the four main things, you know: protein powder, creatine, vitamin D, and fish oils are the four supplements that I take. Okay.
We don't have to linger on this too long, but like protein, is there a certain dosage you go for? Like,
I don't like measure perfectly, but you know, they say, you know, 1 gram per pound that you weigh. You can probably go a little less, like 0.7 grams per pound.
Kind of go by too.
I feel like I'm generally in that ballpark. Like I said, there are some times like I'll like measure out exactly, but for the most part, I just try like ballpark. Okay, I'm pretty close to that range, and so that's kind of the general target I hit.
And then creatine, I'm guessing creatine monohydrate,
yes.
5 grams?
Yeah, 5 grams.
Okay. And then vitamin D, what kind of dose are you looking at on that?
Just whatever's the, like, this says get the 100% like daily value. I can't remember what
I think is that 4,000?
I think so.
Is what a lot of people take.
Yeah.
And then fish oil, what brand?
I think it's just the GNC brand. Like,
okay. I do Nordic Naturals.
Okay.
I have pretty good experience. Okay. Anything else on the nutrition front? Like, do you do fasting or like any other nutrition advice or things you think are important?
Yeah, say in terms of like fitness and just general health, the biggest thing you can do for your health and nutrition is your calorie intake. Like if people, like when people first want to start like working out and being healthy, like before you buy supplements, before you even buy protein powder, creatine, all that stuff, look at your calorie intake. That is the biggest thing. It's a very simple math of calories in versus calories out. Obviously, you know, people, you know, some people are different. There's, you know, thyroid issues and like, you know, sometimes, you know, calories won't quite match up, but generally if you watch what you eat, you're going to lose weight. That's the biggest thing. After that, you know, then you can kind of start looking at your macros. That's kind of I would say is the second biggest thing. Looking at how much protein you're taking in, how much fats, how much carbs. And then after that, after you kind of look at that, I would then say supplements are kind of your next thing to kind of look at. Okay, you know, maybe I can now add, you know, creatine. Get some fish oils. Make sure, you know, vitamin D. Make sure, you know, or all the other micronutrients are you're getting. So I would say, in terms of just general health and nutrition, first make sure you're working on your calorie intake, then focus on your macros, how much protein, how much fats, how much carbs you're taking in, and then you can worry about your supplements. And those are like from most important to least important things to do for your health.
I think that's all great advice. Switching gears a little bit, we haven't talked about this yet, but you're a parent. You have a daughter who's like 1.5 years old.
Yes.
How do you balance being a parent with trying to, you know, accomplish all these fitness goals?
That is probably the hardest thing to my fitness workouts I've added as a child. It's because it's easy when I wasn't married, just like, I could just work out whenever, like, you know, no responsibilities. And then, you know, get married, it's like, okay, you know, balance it out, but it's just us two, like, tell, hey, sweetie, I'm going to the gym. Okay, no problem. Mm-hmm. And now that we have a kid, and it's like, okay, we've had talks of how to like balance because I want to work out, but I don't want to not be responsible for my child,
right?
So I can't spend 8 hours at the gym. So basically, because I work for 24 hours at the fire station, so in the morning before work I go for a run, and then I try to work out at the gym while at work. And then when I get off work, I try to go to the gym right after work and then come home. And when I come home, I'm on dad duty. Mm-hmm. And that way my wife is able to get a break and she can do whatever she needs to do. And so day one, because my work schedule is, it's 1 day on, 2 days off. So I basically look at my training schedule in those 3-day blocks. Mm-hmm. So day one, I run in the morning before work and try to work out during work. On day 2, I try to work out the gym right as I get off work, and that way I have the rest of the day to be dad. And on that 3rd day, basically, I let my wife sleep in, and have her do whatever, and I'm on dad duty, for whenever I can, and when I tell her hey, whenever you're ready, take your time, and then I'll just work out whenever she wants to take over. And that's kind of the balance I found with working out and being a dad of, gotta be flexible with it.
Absolutely. Do you have any advice for dads out there who want to stay fit, or just in general?
I mean,
for dads out there,
one, it's you definitely gotta keep working out, because you're gonna have to be playing with your kids. They're gonna want to play with you, and you're always the fun uncle, you're always the fun parent if you can throw your kids up in the air and hold them upside down and you play in the playground with them. So I mean, that's my goal, is to still be able to play with them. So definitely you gotta find time to work out and be with them, and just because the parent that just kind of sits on the couch on their phone and not do anything, you're kind of slacking your responsibilities. I want to be dad, always engaging, playing around. And so as Adeline gets older, that's kind of my goal, is to be the one playing, and also then just show the positive influence of working out. And as kids, they will do whatever you do. They see you working out and having a good time there, they're going to want to work out. They want to go run and play and do sports. And so that's kind of the positive influence I want to try to do.
I love that. Are there any other, obviously you're a really disciplined and structured person. Is there anything else you try to focus on in terms of parenting? Any, values or lessons you try to really instill or model?
I don't know quite yet, because
I mean, obviously
she's only young. A year and a half, so it's definitely learning. But it's screen time is definitely something we've learned early on, that we have to limit. It was something that for a short time kind of got carried away of we used it basically as a crutch of oh, baby's crying, throw something on the TV, some kid show, and we realized, oh, they get too dependent on that. Definitely have to limit the screen time. So that's probably the biggest thing, especially in the 21st century here, that really try to limit the screen time. Even you using your phone in front of the kid is making a huge difference. What I do to kind of get away with, sometimes I'll put a podcast in my ear, put in my headphones, and then I keep the phone away. That way, as the kid's playing, I can listen to something while the kid's playing, they're none the wiser. Because they will see you devoted to your phone, and they'll see that, and if they know they can cry and be on the screen and get their TV show, they will do that. So that's something we're definitely learning of, trying to counteract.
Yeah, well, and just like you said with the exercise too, right? What kids see us place value on, they place value on as well. We struggle with that too. You're not alone.
Yeah.
It's so hard to try to dial that back and do it right. But it's definitely a good thing to do. So kind of speaking of like, you know, younger kids and stuff like that, when you think back to yourself earlier in your life, is there any advice you would give to your younger self, or like to, you know, guys who are younger now and who are kind of coming up in the world? Any advice you would give them?
I mean, I would say definitely always have goals. I mean, that's something I definitely did as in high school. Like, I mean, I always wrote down the times I needed to qualify for state. I would definitely tell my younger self, like, focus more on nutrition. I know it's something boring that high schoolers and kids don't really care about. But looking back, I mean, like, yeah, for lunch, I would just have, like, a bagel and a Gatorade. And it's like, that wasn't good. I thought I was being healthy. It's like, oh, it's a Gatorade, that's healthy. And a bagel, that's healthy, right? It's got carbs. And it's like,
nothing but carbs and sugar.
Yeah, carbs and sugar. Like, which is just more carbs. Like, that did nothing, but I would have that for lunch almost every day, thinking I was being healthy. And looking back, it's like, you know, you could have done so much better. And you know, you didn't know any better. And it's weird, as you get older, your body really feels the effects of what nutrition you eat. Like, I've noticed as I've like eliminated soda, and like I almost never eat fast food. Like, I really feel the effects of that. So definitely tell myself, yourself, you know, research more nutrition, especially, you know, if you want to be good in sports. One saying that we kind of came up together, I don't know if you know what I'm going to say.
I think I do.
Like, you know, treat your body like a Bugatti. Don't mimic a Civic. That was, like, so I just always like that. Just because your body is a high-performance car. Like, you don't give it horrible crap fuel. Like, you got to give it the best fuel if you want it to run well. Like, a Bugatti needs top-of-the-line fuel. A Honda Civic, you can do whatever. You could throw vegetable oil and it would still run as vegetable oil for fuel. Right. But your body is a Bugatti. Don't mimic a Civic.
That's a good catchphrase. I like that. Any other advice for your younger self or young people out there?
Just best thing you do is just always have goals. Just have something to strive for, both short term and long term. I know it's boring, cliche, but just
it's true though.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree completely. So this is something we haven't really talked about yet, but as a psychologist, it's something I often think about, is just mental health. Is there anything that you do that you feel like is good for your mental health, or like any things that keep you grounded that you would recommend to other people, whether that be, you know, journaling or meditation or prayer, or any practices you do to take care of your mind as well as your body?
I mean, I always felt like going for runs has always helped my mental health. It's just a nice, easy run, you know, go through trails in the forest. Like, that has always been something I felt like super beneficial for me. Just, you know, you're able to like let your mind loose, and just, I feel like that's probably helped the biggest. Definitely, you know, prayer and reading the Bible for me has been big. I feel fortunate that I've never really had much difficulty with mental health. I guess I don't know if it's just because I've always been running, and I feel like has helped a lot. Like, because I've also, like, a big thing with health is I make sure I try to get my 8 hours sleep. Like, I make sure I go to bed at 10 every night. Like, I'm very strict on that. So, like, I, you know, try to get my sleep, drink plenty of water, try to eat healthy. You know, I feel like all those things benefits with my mental health.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there are psychologists out there who would probably disagree, and I would love to talk to them. But I find it personally, and I think the research supports it too, like your mind and your body are not different things, and the better care you take of your body, the better your mind is going to work. Like, it's a thing that's weirdly controversial for something that's really straightforward, in my opinion. So then, going from my profession to yours, as a paramedic and a firefighter, I'm sure you've seen some crazy things. You've told me some crazy stories. Is there any advice that you would give to like the average person who might be listening to this to like not need to call the paramedics or like things that you've learned that
it's crazy. Like, I feel like with being a paramedic, most of our calls, I would say the average person would not call 911 for. Like, I had a call last shift for someone with a headache and they wanted to go to the hospital, and it was at 4 a.m, and it's like, well, it's an emergency to them, and so, you're kind to them, you keep a happy face and you take them to the hospital, but, you think down like, this isn't a true emergency. Why you or family member can't drive to the hospital, but, it's an emergency to them, so we'll provide the care.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for most people, they understand that, but I feel like, 10% of the population will call for anything, but then on the flip side, there's also like 10% of the population that won't go to the hospital for anything. Like, I mean, we'll have calls where, people are having a legit heart attack where we put them on the monitor and we're looking at their heart rate, and it's like, you need to go to the hospital right now. You're having a heart attack. And they're like, I don't want to go. And it's like, this is going to kill you if you don't. But, it's crazy on the spectrum. Like, you got people that 100% need to go to the hospital because they are going to die if they don't. And they don't want to. Mm-hmm. And then there's people that, they had a headache and they want to go. And we're always happy to come out, if you're unsure, and check you out. But I would say, it's crazy. Most of our calls aren't that serious.
Mm-hmm. Of the calls that are serious, what would you say are kind of like the major things you see? I heard you say heart attacks. I know that's like a leading cause of death.
Yeah, it's almost always heart or respiration. Like, two big things, your heart and your lungs. Like, it's, and then also like trauma, like, car accidents or stuff like that. It's probably the most serious stuff. It's one of those things. It's either something is wrong with your heart, something's wrong with your breathing, or some horrible accident, some kind of trauma.
Yeah. Is there, having been a firefighter and paramedic for years, is there things you do differently when you're driving, or like advice you would give to people to stay safe when driving? Other than, don't be an idiot and like speed in the snow and stuff like that.
Yeah. Besides the common stuff, I would also say, like, if you get in like a little minor accident, and you call 911 saying you've been in a car accident, the cops will come. Stay in your car until the cops get there and they can block the road. Like, there's no benefit of you stepping out of your car with cars whizzing by to take pictures of your minor fender bender. Like, we've had people get in very serious accidents because they were in a minor fender bender, and then they get hit by a car because the cops hadn't gotten there, they hadn't blocked the road, we hadn't got there yet. It's just little things like that. Like, wait till the cops get there, they can block your lane and make sure you're safe. Then you can get out and take pictures if need be.
That's a good tip.
Yes.
I think most people probably wouldn't know that.
Yeah, you think, I just want to step out and take a picture, but then all of a sudden, people driving by, they don't know what's going on. They zip by 60 miles per hour, and unfortunately, people get hurt.
Right. Okay, that's good advice. We're getting to my last few questions. Next one is there anyone that you follow or who influences you, or who you would recommend to other people?
As I said earlier, Jimmy Choi, like, he was the inspiration for my Burpee Mile and getting the world record there. He is a huge inspiration. Like, it's just, I've raised money for the Michael J. Fox Foundation, because he's very involved with that and raising money for Parkinson's research. Like I said, it's crazy. Like, he's in his 40s with Parkinson's and in the best shape of his life, and like some of the things he's doing, it's like, holy cow, like normal humans can't do that, and against all odds, like, he is doing it. So that's definitely the one person I would say, like, check him out, like, show him your support, like, follow him, see, like, just the amazing, like, physical challenges he's always doing.
All right. Anyone else, like podcasts, news sources, fun people to follow?
I feel like the rest is just whatever random stuff I see either on YouTube or actually, let me say two people on YouTube that I like to listen to is one is the Mind Pump Show. It's a really good podcast, and they're more on the kind of like bodybuilding and like more like building, a lot of strength.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll talk about like scientific research on everything and stuff like that. So if like, obviously if you're a long distance runner, maybe some of the stuff doesn't quite translate because, they're talking more of like brute strength, kind of like fitness and health wise. But I mean, they talk a lot of things about with supplements and health, and like, they go through a lot of research stuff, and it's very knowledgeable. It's not like a bunch of gym bros talking about how to get strong. They're actually talking about like deep research. What does the science say?
Mm-hmm. What's their name again?
Their podcast is called Mind Pump Show.
Mind Pump Show.
Yes. And then another guy that I like following on YouTube is Jeff Nipdard. He's just a fitness YouTuber, but in all his videos, he's actually like, he'll actually show case studies, and he'll break down like, here's this peer review article said this, and like this is what the science says about this, and like he'll actually talk about fitness in a very scientific way as well that I really like watching.
Cool. I'll have to check both of those out. I haven't heard of either of those before. Is there anything else that you are really passionate about or that you want the people to know?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the next Guinness World Record I want to go for. Like, so if you have any ideas, I'm kind of like looking on their website trying to find another record to break.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's kind of maybe my goal. Maybe next winter, I was thinking maybe train for another world record.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I gotta figure out what I want to do for another record.
I know the pull-up one has most pull-ups in 24 hours. Yeah. That's a hot one these days. Yeah. I think someone took it from Goggins in like Oak Park or something.
Yeah, I saw that. The problem with that, that is like a more like, that seems like everyone's always breaking like that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good one to do, but that might take more than a winter worth of training. That might take a few years.
It's a little steeper competition. Yeah. Cool. All right, so then just as we're wrapping up, if people want to follow you and like follow your races, see about your workouts, just follow you more, where can they do that? Or
the only social media I'm really on is Instagram. Mm-hmm. So you just follow the Mailman Seiffert. You'll be able to follow me.
And Seiffert is Seiffert.
Yes.
The Mailman Seiffert on Instagram. Is your account private? Public?
No, public.
Public. So if you guys want to follow Ryan, aka Stan, that's where you can find him. And yeah, thanks for being on the Tim Burks podcast, episode number 4.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.